the Declaration on State Responsibility and Accounting for Missing Persons and apply it to cases beyond the missing persons cases from conflict, human rights abuses, and apply it to other cases. I want to start by saying that, yeah, you have to put on your, I'll start again. You need to put on your headphones because that will cancel out the noise in the background and allow you to hear me and the other speakers that are here today. I think we're still expecting people from the press area because, as I understand it, this launch is a press launch. So we're expecting a few more people to join us. So just wait a second while we get ourselves together. Does everyone have their microphones on? Yep. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. And you notice also the different numbers for the different languages. Okay. So today's presentation will be completely in English. What I would like to start with is to go over the basic premise of today's launch or discussion. The title of our presentation today is that accounting for the missing is an investment in peace. As you know, around the world there are untold numbers of missing persons from war, from human rights abuses, from organized crime, from natural disasters and man-made disasters. There are also persons missing from irregular migration, and the numbers around the world are in the millions. In fact, the issue of missing persons is a global challenge, and people have gone missing forever. But accounting for the missing and the role of the state in accounting for missing is a very new concept. In addition to that, you have a demographic component to the missing persons problem, which I would like to go over. The majority of missing from armed conflict are men, which means that the majority of survivors of these conflicts tend to be missing. An aberration to the situation is the case of Yazidi families who had a majority of cases where women went missing following their abduction and following torture, including rape. They went missing. This is also happening, for example, in cases in Mexico. But overall, the majority of those missing from armed conflict tend to be men, which means when we're dealing with rights, and we're dealing with the rights of survivors, we're dealing largely with women and children in terms of ensuring their rights to justice, truth, and accountability. In addition to this, the number of persons who've gone missing has changed over time in terms of the dynamics. Today, we're also commemorating the end of World War I. And in World War I, the majority of those who went missing were combatants, to the tune of 7-1 in favor of combatants. If we look at the wars in the former Yugoslavia, for example, the majority of missing were civilians, by a ratio of 10-1 in favor of civilians. So the dynamic of conflict, the dynamic of the missing persons process has also changed. When we're looking at persons missing from migration, specifically in the context of the Mediterranean, according to the International Organization for Migration, persons coming from 65 countries are traveling through the central Mediterranean to Europe. The majority of those are men, but the majority of those left behind are again women in the countries of origin. So I think that just gives you a sort of view of what the dynamics are in terms of who are the missing and who are the surviving family members of the missing. Another additional element I want to go over before we turn over to the presenters is that the issue of missing persons and how states account for missing persons has also changed over time. And we witnessed a historical shift in how this happened in the 1990s through the creation of specific international courts, for example, the creation of ICTY in 1993, the creation of its counterpart for Rwanda in 1993, the creation of the International Criminal Court in 1998, the creation of ICMP itself in 1996 created a new dynamic in which states became responsible for accounting for missing persons, but also for holding perpetrators to account. So in effect, persons missing, in their cases, were being investigated for the first time in history. And we saw that very much exemplified in the case of Bosnia-Herzegovina, where when the war ended, mass graves were excavated, and in the end, 3,000 mass grave sites were excavated. Also, the historical shift that took place over the last decade was the use use of new technologies, including DNA. ICMP started its work as a consequence of the conflicts in the Western Balkans. We were created at a G7 summit in 1996 to ensure state responsibility. In fact, our mandate is to ensure that governments take responsibility and ensure their cooperation in accounting for missing persons. We help build institutions. We help create legislation with our partners ICRC, who are here today. Together we work on trying to create legislation that was specific to securing the rights of surviving family members of the missing. We also, for the first time, recognized their rights in terms of justice, truth, and accountability. Finally, in 2014, we got to the point where we were able to account for over 70% of 40,000 persons who went missing, and almost 90% of those missing from the Srebrenica genocide, which is unprecedented. But this is a heroic effort on the part of states. States have to take responsibility in terms of finding all missing persons, regardless of their ethnic, religious, or national origin, or their role during the conflict. As a consequence, in 2014, we put together a declaration on the responsibility of states in addressing persons missing from armed conflict and human rights abuses. What we are launching today is effectively going beyond that declaration and ensuring that states not only responsibly account for missing persons from armed conflict and human rights abuses, but that they also take responsibility for accounting for all missing persons, including those missing from disasters, including those missing from organized crime, such as what we see in Mexico today, including those missing from migration. And actually, in June of this year, we brought together the governments of Italy, of Malta, of Cyprus, and Greece to come together for the first time in history to account for missing migrants. So what we're launching today is a global dynamic or initiative to ensure that governments take responsibility in accounting for all missing persons. I'm not going to read the 8 principles today that are derived from this particular declaration. I'll leave that to you. The flyer is on your chairs. I would rather turn now to the speakers that we have here today to talk about their own stories and to talk about how investing in the issue of missing persons leads to peace, and in fact is an investment in peace. I'm going to start with Amr Begic, who is a Srebrenica survivor and who has a very compelling story.
First of all, thank you for inviting me here, and I would like to greet all of you. Thank you for spending your time in here. I'm Amr Begic, and I'm coming from the Memorial Center for the Srebrenica genocide victims from 1995. But today I'm here as a family member of the genocide victims. So during the Srebrenica genocide, I lost my father, my grandpa, 26 cousins, my best friends, my neighbors. Actually, I used to say that I lost Srebrenica, and I was surprised to see this pictures in front of me here. Those are the pictures of the Srebrenica genocide victims. For a long, long time, they were just the pictures without the names. And I just realized that we can now connect the face with the identity of the people who were missing for the years, and that is the aim of the ICMP. And that is why we as a company wanted to support the ICMP project in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the best way that we could. And we were so grateful that we had support, international support, and ICMP there in Bosnia. So today we are able to say that Bosnian model, Bosnian example could be model for the other countries, and we hope that it will happen at the countries where they still don't have a system to support the families of the missing people. Let me tell you part of my personal story. It is not an easy one. In November 2008, I had a dream, real dream, like it was happening for real. I was sitting in the middle of the mass grave and trying to separate the bones, remains of my father from the other victims' remains, like one by one. On the end of my dream, I still missed a little part of the skeleton of my father. So tomorrow morning, I told to my colleagues that I had this strange dream. So I was told, let's phone ICMP office in Tuzla to ask them if there's something new. It was 13 years after genocide. And then the answer was, he just wanted to call you. You know, they found my father in a second-hand mass grave, 50 kilometers far away from the place where he used to live. There was still missing part, a little one, just like in my dream. But then I asked how he died. Actually, in the moment when I wake up, I wanted the most wonderful dream that I ever had to come true. It's hard to understand, but I wanted the end of the story. I wanted to know what happened and how he died. You know, so I was told that he died by the bullet straight to the head, which means that he survived suffering and probably his death was confirmed by the bullet straight to the head. But after identification, you know, we had a chance to bury the remains of my father with the name. And I didn't know how big it is until the moment when I brought my kids for the first time to the cemetery, when I told them, this is your grandpa. You know. So it's much more than just identification. It's also giving back the dignity to the people, to the missing people, to the victims, but also giving back the dignity to the family members, giving us a chance to sit next to the grave, to spend some time, even like that, together. It is, but also we know that it is a long process. We are happy to say that 90% of the genocide victims found a peace. I mean, we used to say that they are finding the peace when we bury them at the cemetery side after identification. But also the process is still going on. Many family members are still waiting for the identification process to be done. But still, that we are happy to say that the ICMP office is still in Bosnia and Herzegovina working on, but also we are willing to help to the other family members of the missing people everywhere around the world. And what we used to say in Bosnia is it doesn't matter what is the name of the victim. On the end, it is the victim. Someone is looking for them. Someone is waiting for the information. And on the end, as I said before, the most important is to have the end of the story, to close the circle in Bosnia. And for my family, it was like to finish identification of our deals. We are still waiting for the identification process of some relatives. And to have the war criminals at the courts, you know. So when we have this, then we have a story, the end of the story for the future generation. And example, what should not happen never again, you know. At least, you know, certain instances, because it happened under the protection of the United Nations forces. But anyway, it should never happen nowhere until I
On Camilo, lost his mother in the conflict that has raged in Colombia for the last 15 years.
Yes, thank you very much to the ICMP for inviting us and for being here and having this moment of thoughts and conversations on these issues. I'm not an expert public speaker, so I will read the contribution that I wrote down for this event. Amparo del Carmen Torres Trujillo is my mother's name. It's important to say the names because it gives meaning and it gives back to the common feeling of the family. She was a young woman that, as many of her generation, fought, dreaming of building a more equal society for her country, for her children, and for all the new generations. My mother was a guerrilla fighter and was disappeared during the peace process between the left-wing guerrilla EPL and the Colombian government. Those responsible for her disappearance are former members of the late Bogotá's military intelligence headquarters, Batallón Xavi Solano, responsible for many other disappearances at that time. The reason of her disappearance was to obstruct the peace process that the guerrilla group and the state were moving forward in those days. The disappearance of my mother has a political aspect and the complicity of state organisms, and that has made it difficult to search for truth. Thanks to the work carried out by my family and the human rights organizations in the early 1990s, we brought the case to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and the Commission in the year 2000 recommended the Colombian state to carry out a neutral and effective investigation in order to penalize those responsible, to clarify the circumstances of the disappearance as well as what happened with the remains of the victim and return them to the family, and 3, adopt the necessary measures in order to give to the victim's family appropriate and sufficient reparation. From this resolution, a procedure started, concluding in the year 2007 that declared 5 low-rank members of the Colombian army responsible, and thus the Colombian state called us for reconciliation. Despite of all this, 29 years have passed and still we don't know where the remains of my mother's are. Sometimes I have been asked why I want to reopen my mother's case, when those responsible have been judged guilty and there has been a conciliation with the state. My answer is always the same. I'm not reopening the case, I'm only trying to close this one. The debt we have with our missing persons is extinguished when the remains are given back to their relatives, and when what happened is known, when it is clear who did it and why it was done. When truth is told, only then is possible to rest and find peace in the search of justice and dignity. For many years now, Colombia has made numerous efforts to make steps forwards in this path. The most recent is the peace agreement signed by the guerrilla army FARC-EP and the creation of new transitional justice tools, such as the search unit for missing persons, the special jurisdiction for peace, and the truth commission. These tools need to be implemented in order to accomplish the results that the victims and the whole society want to see. The challenge that we Colombians have ahead is big, mainly for 2 reasons. The second, as a result of the first. Firstly, Colombia has endured an over 50-year-long armed conflict, and second, the up-to-date unknown number of missing persons. According to the National Center for Historical Memory, the number of missing persons is around 83,000. According to some NGOs, the number is over 100,000 victims. This scenario requires new perspectives in areas such as the research, the use of information, the identification process, and the participation of the relatives and family. And these are the reasons why it seems convenient and necessary to include the experience of the International Commission on Missing People, implementing and learning from the experience gathered in difficult cases, such as the ones made by the ICMP, in complex backgrounds and conditions, as an example of Srebrenica. We are aware that the research of missing persons costs money, mainly in those long-lasting conflicts that do not end when guns silence. But the price that is paid at social level in terms of peace and sustainability in the development and transition to a new stage is even higher, and is the loss of confidence in the state. Therefore, we encourage the national institutions to make an investment in peace and justice and to join the families in the search of their loved ones. Policymakers and the international community in general fear to give open and public support to the victims, willing to access justice and reparation mechanisms. In the research process of missing persons, it is important that states and international cooperation organizations understand that it's up to each family to decide whether they want to access criminal justice through the reparation process, to both, or to none of this. We have as examples in Colombia the modus of Soacha, the Operation CDD, the family victims of the Justice Palace, the Nidia Erika Bautista Foundation, that with pain and sacrifice, paying a high price in life quality, health and personal security, and sometimes in conditions of extreme poverty, the families have done everything that had to be done and taken important actions in political, social, academic, and international scenarios in order to find their loved ones. The families of missing persons are to be supported. The organizations of families of disappeared persons and the NGOs that work with them need security and ground to push forward their request to state governments to respect their duties. They need resources that allow them to keep on working, because they not only achieve the trust of their families, and that is no small thing, but they also have little information of their case, and that's the dignity and the memory of the people still here.
Thank you, Montreal, for that very powerful statement. For making the case again that states have an obligation to families of the missing, to society, to provide them with rights, and to secure their rights, regardless of those rights, whether it's justice, whether it's truth, whether it's reparations. I want to turn to Oasis for a moment. Oasis Gaulish, he doesn't have a missing person or relative at the moment. His father did go missing at some point during the previous regime. But listening to the 2 speakers here who've actually lost somebody, understanding that in both of these cases, the state itself has made an effort to define those specific persons, to account for those missing persons. In the context of Bosnia and the Western Balkans, for example, where the specific institutions were established, domestic courts were established, and international courts. In the case of Montenegro, was able to take his case to the Inter-American Court. Looking towards the future now, as the Syrian conflict is ongoing, there are 85,000 plus missing persons, there could be 100,000, nobody knows. There continue to be persons who are missing now to this day. In addition to that, the misery of Syria doesn't end at the border, and it continues through the migration crisis as Syrians are fleeing conflict, dying in the Mediterranean, where Syrian children being trafficked into Can you please illustrate to us the work you're talking about how this future, the families that you've spoken to, how they see a future in Syria?
That's what I see. Yeah, actually, that's what actually, first, we do some start like pictures after 8 years, like now, so I'm going okay in Syria, we have like 1,000 people, it's like still the same as still the things and things are like potentially might be missing or disappearance or get to the massacres soon. Actually, this is it's not new with Syria. It's like a journey extension to 1980 when you have like 20 or 25,000 people who have been missing since 25 years ago in Syria, and without any addressing or without any acknowledgement from the government about this number of missing persons. So it's like still continuing in Syria. But after 2011, after the uprising starting in Syria, this like this bad practices of kidnapping and enforced disappearance, missing persons, detention, it's like becoming more widespread and like more systematic. It's like more brutal. It's so actually we have a lot of different patterns of missing persons here, not only regarding the conflict like we have in Syria, missing person regarding for detention center. We also have missing person for the migration to their trips to Europe when they try to go in the Mediterranean. So I think it's like we have vast numbers of missing persons in Syria, and this number is still ongoing. And this is the work of it's not like ending. Even now there is like a truth on the ground. There is like the people, kidnap people, kill people. This is still ongoing in Syria. Actually, the majority of the missing persons is happening on detention centers, whether for the detention centers or the armed sometimes detention centers. Actually, it's like this is horrible. We call it Syria horrible group, or this is like the characters. The conflict is starting when someone is kidnapped from the street, from the checkpoints, from his home. Then he might be subjected to torture in detention centers or security centers for detention, and then he might be in numbers after the torture and buried in the massacres. And no one knows actually where these massacres were. Also, we have like ISIS massacres in Raqqa after ISIS have been defeated in Raqqa. There's a lot of massacres now have been founded, and might be after the past executions for the persons or ISIS committed some massacres in Raqqa. So I think it's like in all of Syria, we have now vast number of massacres, vast number of missing persons, vast number of detainees who might be also, as I mentioned, might be like missing persons soon. For example, in Syria, the regime is now trying to address it in very bad way. Addressing the missing person issues, they will try to release the names of birth certificate for the detainees or the missing person, but without any justification, without any refer to the bodies and the names and for anything. It's just like a name. It's like cause more harm and damage for the families. It's not like being acknowledged or wanting to apologize for what's happening in Syria. So I think for the future, we would like to invest more and more in peace, or we would like to have like real peace. I think we will have to address two issues. First, finding the truth, and finding the truth and at least for the families. And also we have the accountability, actually for the perpetrators. So without these elements, we will not quite have real peace, so no one will accept or will believe we have like peace agreement in Syria. Actually, there is maybe some points we should do like addressing like suspensions some death sentences which are issued by the exceptional courts in Syria, like the military court, also relieve the political detainees directly without any action obstacles. The final thing, this missing person topics actually should be prioritization in any negotiation, any high-level negotiation for serious mission, especially for engineering, should be on the agenda, always on the agenda, not like at the side of the agenda. So I think at that time we will like have some progress, and we are working for the decisions. We are working for the
Having listened to Amra and to Monica, do you think there will ever be a scenario in which Syria, where all persons will be accounted for, regardless of which side of the conflict, which ethnic religious groups intend to take in?
Yes, I think yes, it might be working, but actually under some conditions, it might be this might be seen as a senior lawyer, human rights activist. Actually, I think in some conditions, maybe it might be working still. For example, acknowledging for the missing persons and not denying what's happening, just denying for every side, not only for the government side, for everyone's life. This is right. And also, is opening the messages and inviting like some international groups, some ICMP, who can actually do the better for looking for the truth and getting this on for peace life. And also actually prosecuting the perpetrators without seeing the real justice on the ground, and it's like a line on the ground. There is some however it's like the justice or the mechanisms of the justice, it's like international law or regime, but actually we need to see that, and that time actually the victims and the local community in Syria will actually, after apologizing, after apology, after justice, actually I think yes, we can reach to accept to see the future again.
Fala, Lisa, you are from the Yazidi population in northern Iraq. I think we all know the horror stories committed by Daesh, the atrocities committed by Daesh against the Yazidi population. Can you describe a little bit the circumstances under which persons are witnessing the acts of atrocity and Iraq's efforts today to account for this innocence?
Thank you, Mrs. Kathryne, and thank you for ICMP for inviting us to this forum, and thank you to the great friends actually to this event. To talk about the Yazidi, actually, let's go back something to the history of the Yazidi. It's the eldest religious group in the Iraq. They are found before Christmas, 5 years before Christmas, actually. They think that they were more than 80 million, but they exposed to 72 genocides in the past. It's a bloody history, actually. And now they are less than 1 million all over the world. Actually, what happened to the Yazidi not only in 3rd of August 2014, they exposed also in to another attack by Al-Qaeda by two big trucks full of TNT and C4. They destroyed 2 collected villages. Until now, there is about 800 missing persons in both collected small towns. What happened to the Yazidis in 2014 actually wasn't expected. Thousands of people were killed, thousands of men were killed because they were like, they gave them 2 choices, either to change religion or to be killed. So most of them were killed. Thousands of women and children were kidnapped. The women and girls were taken as sex slaves, so they exposed to torture, rape, and every bad dealing. Unfortunately, the psychology of the people in Iraq, especially the families of missing persons, they feel interested because the security forces pull it out without any fighting in 2014. They lost trust with the governments, with the local governments. Also, what makes the Yazidi case or the Yazidi genocide unique is the ISIS group, which was a systematic group, uh, uh, which they originally they are not related to any country or any region, but in truth they are like groups participated in most of the countries in the world, not only the Iraq, not only the Arabic countries, in all over the world. There are some ISIS members from France, some from United States, some from Germany, some from most of the countries over all the world. And not only the family, the victims in the mass graves. Nowadays, there are more than 70 mass graves discovered in Sinjar for the Yazidi victims, and more than 200 single graves surrounding the mountain who were killed by ISIS, and also by the neighbors, actually. The neighbors, the people from the neighbors who participated with the ISIS. That's why the families of the missing persons lost the trust, not only with the local governments, also with the people surrounding the Yazidis, the neighbors. There are also Yazidi missing persons among the families of liberated areas like Mosul and some parts of Syria, because some families are still keeping some of the Yazidi children as their children. They don't show to the local governments that this is the Yazidi children and we kept them. They kept them for themselves. Also the Turkmen families who migrated to Turkey after the liberation of Syria and Iraq from ISIS. The Turkmen families who participated with ISIS in killing Yazidis and other groups. After migration to Turkey, they took the Yazidi children with them and they keep them. So we expect more than 250 Yazidi children in Turkey nowadays with the Turkmen family. And also because we lost trust with the local governments and also the people who were surrounding us and participated with ISIS in killing of the Yazidis. Many of the families, actually most of them tried to migrate Iraq. Many of them suffocated in Aegean Sea between the Turkey and Greece, and still missing. So it needs a lot of efforts. This small community actually spread among the countries. Some of them are in Germany as migrants, some of them are in France, some went to Australia, some went to Canada, some to United States, and many of them are in Greece waiting for their fate to get to European countries or other countries. They are waiting for UN procedures. Also, some of them are in Turkey also waiting for the same chance. The Yazidis, they are not leaving Iraq because of the bad situation among the camps. We face it worse than that during the economic blockade in 1919, during Saddam regime. There was no even a piece of bread sometimes to eat, but our fathers and grandfathers refused to leave Iraq because we trusted our country and we wanted to live in dignity. But nowadays, what we lose is dignity, identity, and acceptance. Actually, we don't feel that our neighbors and our governments are accepting us as normal citizens, because from at the end of 2014, the Sinjar areas, most of the areas are liberated, especially the northern south of Sinjar, and it is secure for excavation. And the ICMP teams from the July 2016 are ready to go to the northern side of Sinjar Mountain and excavate the mass graves. But unfortunately, the two governments, the political conflict is between the federal government of Iraq and the Kurdistan government, KRG. They don't let the teams to go and work on the ground because if the mass graves like excavated according to the international measures, they should be done through the law of Iraq. And the law of Iraq of the mass graves, there is an article, Article 6, is saying that a committee should be formed. This committee is formed from both governments, ministries and institutions of Iraq, from Iraq and KRG too. So, two were, according to law on the mass graves in Iraq, both governments should collaborate and cooperate together sorry, with an international team like ICMP so they can work according to law on these mass graves. The families of missing persons, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it, yeah. But I just want to follow this idea. I mean, what we're trying to explain is, in the context of Iraq, the law was written in 2006 that allows for the various institutions that exist in Iraq. It's the issue of missing persons is across the Iraq. So ensuring that the Ministry of Health, the Ministries of Justice, the Ministries for Martyrs, meaning the Ministry for Martyrs Gaida, and the one also the KRG, take responsibility collectively to work on all missing persons cases, because the numbers in Iraq are staggering. There are persons missing from the regime of Saddam Hussein, persons missing from the war with Iran, persons missing from the First Gulf War, persons missing from after 2003, and most recently from Daesh crime. So this committee structure that includes institutions from a variety of ministries within Iran is critical to this process. So ensuring again that states take responsibility, that you reinstate the rule of law, because what is happening in all of these cases is the rule of law is abandoned. So finding missing persons requires reinstating the rule of law. But I'll let you finish with that Andreas, try to bring in the principles that we're espousing, that we're launching today in this effort.
Sorry. So what the families of missing persons are waiting for, actually, I met many of them. They are just waiting for the remains of their beloved one. 90% of Yazidi community nowadays want to leave Iraq because they don't trust the local governments and they don't trust the neighbors. I asked one aged woman who called Dai Ghazali. She is more than 80 years old. She was an eyewitness of the killing of her three sons in front of her when ISIS came. She spent 4 days with the bodies of her sons, and then she left to the mountain. After that, when the Sinjar area was liberated, they went to the place that they were killed. They made like a mass grave. I'm sorry. And they were collected with some other bodies and in a huge mass grave. So they don't know where they are their bodies. So so sorry.
We'll get back to it. Andreas, would you like to add to what the speakers just said? One thing we haven't talked about is the creation of the interdependent, partial independent mechanism for Syria, and the creation now of the dual investigating team in terms of accountability, justice, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Can you hear me? Yes. I would like to begin to reflect just briefly on what we heard from Colombia, where the notion of state responsibility is in particular, this process. We've heard about some of the mechanisms that are now that raise high hopes of the landscape. The word I would like, the concept I would like to underline in the notion of state responsibility is that discharging state responsibility is an official obligation. Activities that we would want to see in response to persons and as a result of the conflict have an official character and therefore within the accountability framework of the institutions of the state, and as we have seen under the case of court, indeed, for the first time, a very robust new opportunity was created to gather the various peace organizations, peace organizations, specifically created this process that all justice-related institutions to account for missing persons as a result of the conflict. So the concept of state responsibility is really a particular prominence in the Colombian context, and in view of what we would like to launch as a concept, as an initiative for international consensus here, let's remember that the very same concept of state responsibility should not be more broadly applied for all missing persons, not only human rights abuses directly or assumption of the presence of human rights abuses and conflict, but also going beyond. So in that particular regard, let's turn to point to Europe, where we have numerous missing persons as a result of migration, and we find still in numerous countries not the kind of official state response that we're looking for, that we're trying to bring. So to reflect a bit further on the principles of which are written up in the information sheet, how we can take the task forward to a broader, broadest possible universe of missing persons. I'd like to talk about what we read about Srebrenica. The three concepts we're standing out. One is the one of capacity. We want to know the names. We want to have answers, which calls for capacities to establish the facts. And these capacities have to have certain attributes. They have to be, again, there's the official agency, but they also have to be in a position to credibly relate a process that has prospects of success. And here, of course, we are familiar with the forensic capacities that play an important role here. Very importantly was the concept of truth that was mentioned, and truth as an important precondition and element of reconciliation, and not something that threatens reconciliation, but being a basis thereof. And lastly, of course, justice. And justice is a very important component because it also tells us something about the standards that need to be applied to capacities and beyond. We need to have standards that are capable of standing up in legal procedures, including criminal legal procedures. These principles are again included. The question that comes up is how can we take them forward again for all missing persons from what we have learned in particular scenarios. And it would seem that just as applicable to other scenarios, I would like to outline highlight what we just heard from Syria, where we have substantive human rights violations were explained, were set forth in respect of the missing person, human rights violations in respect of the missing person as being at risk of his or her rights being at risk, being flouted, as there is no protection under the law as part, for instance, being abducted. And abduction is being precisely the environment where we have not as such necessarily yet we have violations of human rights, but it will not need to be conflicted yet, or in specific circumstances they are not. Again, the migration crisis, we know of numerous allegations of abductions, in particular of children and women, and all of them, of course, are missing from the perspective of families reporting them missing, and they are in need of the very same protections that we have come to accept for persons who are missing as a result of war and people shown human rights violations. So to go to what we just heard about the sufferance of the Yazidi community. The example of international cooperation was raised here. We had international cooperation, or the absence thereof, being at the core of problems to account for persons missing within the Yazidi community, as we have experienced difficulties between Baghdad and Erbil in particular, which then in turn translates into an inability to cooperate at the international level because it blocks international affairs. So the principle of international cooperation, domestic cooperation between institutions linked to again then international cooperation and mobilizing these resources is just as applicable to other circumstances of persons going missing, where we cannot just point to one set of causes, such as again the migration crisis we're looking at. We cannot say that the boat capsized for one single cause. It capsized for all the causes we're talking about: human rights abuses like fleeing conflict, like fleeing, poor capacity of the boat, the absence of the rule of law. All of this accounts for a complex situation that we should try to elaborate in advance, universally accepted set of principles that are applicable to all. On that notion, if I may just add as a final comment, is that we don't need to create or prioritize the various principles. They can stand next to each other and they complement each other. And generally, when we speak of the rule of law, which may be seen as encompassing many of these aspects, we need to see that rule of law failures are as much a consequence as they are cause of persons going missing. And the more we can make the rule of law and its components applicable to all, the more we will both see a reduction of the causes and the ultimate event of persons going missing.
Thank you very much. I'd like to use this opportunity, because we're running out of time, time for a few more questions from the audience. Just to underscore again the purpose of this launch. The issue of missing persons is a global challenge. There isn't one country in the world that doesn't have a missing persons problem in one way, shape, or another. Canada, for example, has many First Nations women disappear, and investigations have not always been properly carried out. In the United States now, we see the emergence of a problem of families that have been separated at the border, where there are now many missing children as a consequence of that separation. Latin America and Central America have vast numbers of persons missing from decades of conflict, decades of dictatorship, conflicts and aberration. Having nobody in dictatorships that can give their accounts of the country for years. Africa has many missing persons cases from Central Africa, from other areas in Africa, and also many coming from Africa migrating to Europe. And Europe now quickly engaging in initiatives to find missing migrants and building bridges to Africa, trying to account for missing persons. In Southeast Asia, there are many missing persons in the Philippines, by the issue, not only in terms of violence that we need, but also the area is hit constantly by natural disasters. Those missing from Haiyan have yet to be found, for example. The Philippines is a very important country because it doesn't have the resources. So having that standing capacity, having that ability to help states in a time of need, and to have that standing capacity to be available is critical. But also understanding that states themselves learn principles that we're launching today. So effectively, ICMP, although it was created 21 years ago, we are now a treaty-based international organization since 2014. And our treaty calls for the creation of a global forum. A global forum presented up itself a discussion on missing persons, to take on board mistakes, missing persons' experiences from around the country. So within the context of this global forum today, we are launching an initiative to build on the declaration of responsibility persons missing from armed conflict and human rights abuses, to ensure that states take responsibility now for all missing persons cases, as has been elucidated today, whether they're missing from disasters, whether they're missing from migration, organized crime. Because often we cannot distinguish between the two. And on that note, I want to conclude by saying we firmly believe in the context of this peace forum partnership with other organizations, including the International Committee for the Red Cross, IOM, International Courts based in The Hague, that an investment in encountering missing persons is an investment in peace and stability in the world. Thank you very much. Please, we can take a few questions that seems to be. Is it with the history?
I can. Okay, so I mean, can I just understand what is the process today here? I mean, we want the declaration or the operative declaration, and what is the next steps that you would like the states to do?
There's an existing declaration on the role and responsibility of states in accounting for missing persons from armed conflict and terrorist abuses. That declaration has today been signed by 4 countries, but those countries are from the Western Balkans. That declaration is based upon lessons learned, let's say, in the context of those conflicts and what governments were able to do. The 8 principles we are espousing today to take forward to this global forum dynamic initiative is to expand the responsibility of states to include cases of persons missing from migration, from organized crime, from disasters, and from all causes in which persons go missing for involuntary reasons. So that is what we are launching today. We hope that governments take stock of this. We're launching this discussion as of today. We will do it within the context of our global forum, which is a response to our treatment.
Thank you. I'm from Foreign Chicago.
Sorry.
I'm the co-founder of the Center for Foreign Chicago. So I'll be response from this one I will start from my question because this is as I've been people know about Mediterranean has become the mass and last time when we see European countries among themselves not taking responsibilities choosing drug values this is something that is very alarming. As I said, also wondering what that information says about security information. I was wondering for this situation when there are countries nobody is doing this. Is there a determination of responsibility? Perhaps see if anything happens to us, we have more than 10,000. See, and over 50 missing and dead. This is when we just talk about 50 or 70,000. See, as the numbers like only lives. It's not only about housing, it's about family. So I was wondering, when we face no government, because it's too, I don't think there is any government. So what's going to Another question is countries like Africa, we have more than 1,000 people, and we have NGOs, society, great. And yes, we have people we know. Next moment, we want to get next moment. And this government, my government has issues in collaboration with the minorities. And even the express to they have issues. Any people what's going to be the role? Yes. I'm not naive. Again, I think it's going to. I'm very
Thank you for your question. I think we have limited time, so let me ask you a question about migration, and maybe we can talk more about what we're doing. The first effort that we've been in, first of all, I completely agree with you that the Mediterranean has turned into a mass migration hub. And in fact, Italy has 8,000 bodies that have washed up on its shore in the last decade. It's astronomical. And it's struggling to try to account for these missing persons. Italy created a commission on missing persons a while ago, before the migration crisis. Now that commission is working to step up to deal with that specific issue. So what we try to do as an international organization, specifically an intergovernmental organization, and in line with what we're positing today in terms of these 8 principles, is to ensure that Italy, cooperating with other countries in the Mediterranean basin, work together to account for these missing persons. These families have been separated, so some may have ended up in Italy, others in Greece, others in Malta, others in other places in the Mediterranean. So that's the first step. The other step is to form an intergovernmental or committee on missing persons, performing with other international organizations. It's not one international organization that can do this alone. The ICRC has a role, IOM has a role because it deals with migrants, UNHCR has a role because it's dealing with refugees, UNICEF has a role because apparently there's 10,000 children missing in the Mediterranean. So accounting for missing now requires cooperation within states, between states, and with international organizations that work together with those states. That's the first step. Beyond that, using new technologies to be applicable, but the first step has to be demonstration of political will to account for these missing persons. Bear in mind that what the states in the Mediterranean are doing is the first time in history states have taken responsibility for missing migrants. So we're in a very, very new world, and I think that's an important step forward in terms of peace. So on that note, I want to thank you for coming here today, and I want to thank in particular our panelists, all of you for your compelling stories that were very exhibited by coming to talk about your stories today. I want to thank the European Union, Foreign Policy Institute, also for supporting this panel discussion today, for ICMP's work in most of the areas that are illustrated here today. Thank you, Andreas, for your comments and wrapping this up. Okay,
Je veux juste lui dire au revoir.
Ouais.